guys to another episode of the podcast. Thank you so much for being here. I want to thank Jalen and Cacie of Jalen and Cacie TV for being here. How are you guys doing?
We're doing good. We're doing good. Thanks for having us.
Sorry about that. A little bumpy landing there on the intro. I'm still getting my flow. I get telling my guests, you get to be here in the early stages of as I work out all the kinks and everything. So getting used to the hosting thing.
Okay.
I would just love to hear from you guys, a little bit of what got you started and what it is you guys do now with your ministry, with using social media, with using YouTube to basically spread the message you guys have been doing with marriage.
Okay, long story short, we started a little over 5 years ago now.
Yep.
Yeah, it's been about 5 years. We've been married for 7, so I feel like pretty much our whole marriage we've been doing this. It all started really, I can remember the first video we did, really we came off our honeymoon and we did like an update video about how it feels to be married for like a week.
Facebook Live, probably.
Facebook Live.
Yeah.
And then from there, we just kind of like, remember Periscope? We did Periscope videos, of course Facebook, and I think we started a podcast first before we started doing.
Yeah, we did. We were doing weekly Facebook videos,
Yeah.
and I think we were doing lives with that. And then, we did the Abiding Word podcast on our YouTube channel. That was the first video on YouTube channel.
Because we wanted to share the gospel and share the message that we've been taught in church. At that time we were talking about the abiding word, and it just really affected our lives so much that we just wanted to share it. Jalen and I, we've always been passionate about teaching and preaching. It's always been sort of in our blood, so it was very natural for us to just teach the Word of God. Long story short, we talk about our marriage struggles that we started having very early on in our relationship, and we just thought that it would be great to share it with the world. I don't know why sometimes to this day, like why did we decide to do this? We know it's God now, but in the beginning it was like, why do I want to share these issues? But we didn't realize the impact that it would have and how many people are struggling in their marriage, especially early on. It's kind of embarrassing to say, oh, I've been married for 6 months and I'm already having problems. Because nobody really expects that. It's the honeymoon phase, and so it's supposed to be fun and peaches and cream and running through the fields and stuff. But for a lot of people, it's not that. And so once we discovered that, we really just went all in with the grace of God, and slow and steady, we're still here.
Yeah, still doing it. So that's pretty much the story how we got started. And so now, it goes through lots of phases, ups and downs, not ups and downs like negative, but ups and downs of, consistency and how hard we push based on what's going on in life. And so, we had our son, there was a lull there, and then, figuring those things out. So we probably have I won't go too much longer so you can ask more questions, but we have a lot to say about, the different stages of life you go through and how it all kind of works together.
Yeah, no, we definitely can segue into that. What would you say to people who are doing social media or whatever it may be, like if they have a call, a ministry or something like that they feel called to with their social media, what would you say to them about balancing that with your life? Yeah,
so for us, and specifically, like anyone doesn't know, we teach about marriage and relationships and all that. So we've had that question before, and what we'll tell people is that it helps because it's authentic, but our marriage will take priority over all else. So to the point where we say we'll shut everything down for the preservation of our marriage. If it's too much stress, if it's too much. We recently had a conversation where we were trying to launch some new things, and just based on what's going on in our lives, we were like, that's not going to happen, right? We don't need to do that.
Yeah.
Like, that's going to be too much. So let's just scratch that, put that on the back burner, and we'll launch that sometime in the future when we have the ability to, even though we really want to do it, and we know that we're called to do it, we can tell, we're kind of skilled enough now to tell that this is causing too much stress. This is going to put us at odds with one another. It's not worth it. Let's take it slower. So the balance is very simple. A lot of times people think about balance, they see like scales in the sense like, okay, I might make sure to get that out of whack. But for me, balance is all about something at the core. And it's more like all these spokes coming off the hub of the wheel. And when it gets out of balance, the whole thing breaks apart. That's what's going to happen. So whatever is the hub, your relationship with God being the hub of your life, your family being the hub of your life, that's got to be secure so that everything else, the social media, the 9-to-5 job you work, everything else can only operate, can only survive if the hub is secure. And so for our marriage, in this scenario being the hub, it's like, okay, if we're doing things with these spokes that are going to damage this hub, then what are we doing? Because it's not going to last anyway. So the balance is making sure that whatever is the hub is preserved, and
Yeah.
you can't extend yourself any farther than your hub will allow you
Yeah,
to.
and I also think
Mm,
you have to find your consistency. You know, there's a lot of rules out there that says this will make you successful on social media. Post this many times a day. This, you know, construct yourself a certain way so you can get the most attention. But you really have to find your consistency because that's the only thing that you're going to be able to master.
Mhm.
And for
mm,
us, that has changed a lot over the last 5 years. At first, we were trying to post every day. Then it was 3 times a week. Uh, then at one point, I think it was like once or twice a month. You know, based off of where our lives were. The point was that we were always consistent, even if it didn't
right.
look the same way the very first time we started. We was always consistent, and you have to be able to flow that way. And if it's in the line of ministry, for some people, it's just a career, it's a business. You know, they trying to, make that money and be famous. But for us, it's a ministry first before anything else. So we're not going to sacrifice the quality of our ministry just to try to master the algorithm or become famous, things like that,
Yeah.
because that'll definitely wear you out. We've kind of been on that line a little bit where we got really business minded about it, and the Holy Spirit had to check us and like, well, this is ministry first,
Amen.
and because once it becomes very algorithm based and business based, it really sucks the fun out of it. Like it
Mhm.
really does. It sucks the fun out of it. And I'm not telling you not to be business minded, but if it's a ministry unto the Lord, then you really have to be careful that it stays that
Yeah.
before anything else.
So what is it that like drew you guys to want to even do social media? Because I know like some people might feel like social media like the business side of it, or it's more for influencers and those types of things. What drew you guys to it, and what was it about it that made you feel like you could use it as a ministry tool?
Well, I think we are, and this you too included, like we in the generation that saw social media come online, from the onset of MySpace onward to where we are now. So we've pretty much had social media for a long time now, for well over going 2 decades almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, okay. So it's always been there. There's something to use, and it's morphed over time. So it's kind of just a part of life, and it's very clear that social media is the way to reach people that aren't right in front of you. So
Mm,
I think anytime we were deciding we wanted to do something, because like I said, I mentioned it has morphed over time to being more focused on marriage now, but it didn't start that way. It was always like, okay, what platform are we going to use? Like it was just an immediate thought, like, okay, what platform are we going to use to get this content out, whatever it
yeah.
was it a podcast or a video, whatever. And the platforms changed, but it was always obvious that social media is just the way to do it
Mm,
if you're trying to reach people who aren't right immediately in your direct community. So, I mean, I think we've always been somewhat savvy with social media since it's been around. So it just kind of felt natural to us. And
yeah.
it was just figuring out each platform and the new platforms that come along. But it was just kind of a natural thing, I think, for us
Yeah,
because
it's
we used
really,
it.
I would say it's fairly easy to start.
Yeah.
You don't really need a whole lot of equipment or know how these days. There's so much AI now. Like,
Hmm.
like you can just press a button and you're ready to go. So I think that's the reason why social media is so effective. And it's just like you said, it's a no-brainer. We grew up starting from MySpace. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
MySpace is still out there. My page is still out there waiting.
I don't even know if it is or
I
not.
never,
It might not
I never
be.
got it to where I wanted to be, and this I'm telling you right now, it's ugly reasons. But yeah, that's kind of crazy to think that social media has just in the last 20 years,
Yeah.
it is what it is right now.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty awesome. It can be scary too, but it's still a very powerful tool. And I just believe that when God gives you opportunity, just take it.
Yeah.
Since people are on social media 24/7, why not hear the gospel? Why
Mm,
not put the voice of God on it?
I think the more interesting question for us is just when a new platform comes out, how do we decide whether or not to
Yeah.
use it? I think
mm,
it's annoying after a while. Like, there's so many things to use, so many different platforms. You want to try to be everywhere. And there is an intelligence to sticking to what you know and
Yeah.
kind of, maximizing that. But there's also the principle of let's not make the mistake that believers have made many times over the centuries of pushing away from new technology just because it seemed like it could be wrong. You know, we did that with
Yeah.
television, we did that with movies and things like that. And we found ourselves on the outside looking in, trying to get back into it when it didn't have to be that way.
Mm.
So something new comes out, like for example, when AI happened, I have my personal reservations about AI, just as a believer, as a person, in business, of whether that is good or bad, depending on how you use it,
Yeah.
like most things. But I also knew I wasn't going to allow myself to let my personal reservations keep me from being educated about it and
Mm.
using it. Even if I decided ultimately, no, I'm not going to use it at all, I still wanted to see what was out there, what the tools were, and to what degree it could be used so I can make that determination with knowledge instead of without knowledge or
Yeah.
just suspicion about it. And so that's kind of the attitude we take with social media and AI and things like that is be aware of it, find out what it is, use it for at least a period of time, and then determine is it worth it or is it useful for the ministry we're doing.
No, that's really good. You guys are talking about the different platforms and how social media has changed. I know that you guys are on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, but where do you see your, I guess, your main posting like location being, and like where's your biggest community at?
I would say it used to be all YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think that Instagram, we're starting to kind of grab a little bit more attention on Instagram. I think it's kind of balancing out between
Mm-hmm.
Instagram and YouTube. I would still say YouTube is still
Yeah.
probably our main one because it's the one we started with. Um, yeah, it's a lot more motion there. But Instagram is kind of like the second. It's a
Yeah.
close
I
second.
think YouTube has the most consistent audience of
Yeah,
people that we could recognize their names, the usernames, and be like, okay, this is part of our audience. Instagram falls close second right there. The surprising one to me has been Facebook lately. I've kind of ignored Facebook over the course of our entire career of doing
yeah.
this, but very recently, in the past 6 months, I've been paying more attention, and I don't know if they changed the algorithm up, but it's been actually very useful, very successful for us lately.
I think it's the integration because they did buy Instagram.
Yeah.
So I think the integration, they kind of trying to make it kind of match and flow with
Hmm.
Instagram. So I think that's why we've seen the uptake
Yeah.
or the uptake on
Yeah.
Facebook.
Yeah. So, but I would still say I enjoy YouTube the best, I think,
Mm.
and I enjoy the audience there. And their community tab is actually very good for
Mm.
interacting with your audience. And sometimes I feel like that's a better way to get in front of someone in your feed that people that you want to see it more so than Instagram or Facebook is doing right now, which is kind of
Yeah.
surprising. But yeah,
Yeah, I think that gets talked about a lot.
yeah,
That community tab on
yeah,
YouTube. I don't
yeah.
think people take full advantage of that as much as they should.
Hmm.
Um,
Mm.
but yeah, I think you're right on that one.
Yeah.
That's good. That's awesome. What are some tips or I guess advice you would give to someone who is looking to do something similar that like you guys have done, like use it. They have a ministry that they want to promote. I'll say promote, but like they want to get their message out there. What would be some tips for getting started?
Getting started, you're going to want to research your platform. And I'll say start with one platform. Like, don't make 10 pages all at once to try to keep up with it. It's not going to work. Start with one platform and whatever feels the most,
Natural.
yeah, I'll say natural, most comfortable for you. Not to say to stay in your comfort zone, but, just so you can get started. And just be consistent. That's really the best. It's the message to get started, the message to keep it going is to be consistent. That's the only way you're going to, one, get better at whatever it is, especially if social media is new to you. If you're not
Yeah.
used to being in front of a camera or however you're doing, maybe even doing some kind of blog, so it's written, maybe it's faceless content, whatever it is, you have to do it long enough to get better at it. Of
Yeah.
course, build an audience and everything and build your reach, but you got to just, you refine yourself by the consistency of doing it. So that would be the main thing until someone gets started is whatever you get started with, be consistent. Um, and there's two this piece of advice is kind of contradictory, but it's kind of like you got to find a balance here. One is don't settle too fast on what you think your format is because it can
Mm.
change over time, and you got to do what you. It's a balance between realizing people are engaging with better than maybe what you're most comfortable with. So be ready to be flexible. At the same time, don't switch up your format so much because you're just chasing the trend or you do something for a couple of weeks and it feels like I'm not getting enough views. Let me try this. I'm not getting enough views. Try this. And
Yeah.
you realize that okay, nothing's going to work because you're not being consistent with your
Right.
format either.
Right.
And everyone's confused about what it is that you actually do. And
Yeah.
for us, we ran into that early on. We started with the podcast, then we started doing videos, and we actually hit
Yeah.
a nice
Blogs.
Yeah, that was
Vlogs.
what I'm about to
Yeah,
get to. But
vlogs.
we started doing these videos that really was the sweet spot for us. But then we thought, oh, we should do daily vlogs because people were doing daily vlogs. It was daily. It was easier to make than the longer format talking, sitting down videos we were doing. And so we thought, okay, this is a way to build the audience and give them a look at our lives. And it never really took off the way we wanted them to. It was a lot more
A
work.
lot more work.
And so it ended up being stressful. It was kind of fun for a little while, but it didn't last very long. And they were like, okay, let's go back to what we know, what was our sweet spot. So there's some trial and error there. You got to figure it out. But I would just say, find that balance between what
Mm-hmm.
people are responding to, what you know falls in line, what you originally came here to do. Because what the problem is, based on the way the algorithm works, there may be something that's best for the algorithm that's going to get you the most views, but it may not be what it is that you were called to do. And even for people who just do this from a secular standpoint, they'll tell you that like they were having more fun when they weren't getting as many views. Then they found the perfect optimized style of video and thumbnail that was perfect and got everybody watching. I'm talking from a YouTube standpoint right now. And they started doing that and started making the money. But then they got burned out and were like, I don't enjoy doing this anymore because although this is the one that engages everybody, I don't even enjoy this style of content. So you don't want to see that
Yeah.
happen to you. You definitely don't want to lose the message and the ministry that God gave you. So if he's telling you to do a certain thing, even if it's not optimized to get you the most views, that doesn't matter. It's what he called you to do. Stick with that
Right.
smaller
And
audience.
just from a more YouTube business side, from a consumer of YouTube, I feel like we have less creative people on YouTube now. Back in the day when YouTube started, I mean, it was all over the place. Like, and some people may find that that was crazy, but I liked it because everybody was unique and they stood out. And now the
Yeah.
question is, how can I stand out more? Be yourself. That's how you stand out. Is be yourself. Stop trying to fall into this box because everybody's videos look alike. Everybody using the same sound. Everybody's saying the same tag words and stuff, and it's kind of like boring. It really is
Yeah.
boring, and so I really miss the authentic YouTube, like early 2000.
Yeah.
I miss those people. And from being a creator myself, I have found it hard to sometimes like get on there and do certain things because it was just like, I want to be myself, but should I be myself? If you're going to like me, because I'm not
Yeah.
saying this word, or I don't look like this, my lighting isn't this. I mean, the production value has to be like A1,
Yeah.
A1 now for anybody to even pay attention to you.
Mm-hmm.
People don't like long content anymore, so now you're trying to put in a whole lot of information in 5 minutes. It's
Right.
a lot of work. It really is.
Yeah.
A question I like to ask everyone who comes on is, well, no, actually, before I ask that question, I do want to get this one other question in. What do you guys feel has been the biggest key to growing your community?
I'll come back to consistency.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I was coming back to because, one time we went viral and viral is more views you normally get. That's what viral is for you. I mean, everyone has their own definition of viral, but it's not about millions of views, about more than you usually get. And we didn't do anything that we could think of to make that happen. But I mean, we were just, being somewhat consistent. And so the trick is that you never really know exactly what the trick is. You never know when that button's going to flip and everybody's going to find your stuff and it's just going to start
Make a
sharing
living
it and
today
going,
and make it tomorrow.
yeah.
And
So I,
that's what you gotta really
mhm,
accept about social media. You can be on top today and on the bottom tomorrow. But is that going to discourage you from continuing to do what you
mhm,
believe
Mm,
you're supposed to do? You
yeah.
know?
yeah,
I mean, there's a
Yeah.
billion people on the planet.
mhm,
Everybody's not going to like what you do.
exactly.
So you got to really go ahead and just grow a thick
Yeah.
skin and just know that. We get comments that's like, what? Did she even listen to my video?
Hmm.
Like,
Right.
what are you saying? I mean, people have commented so much on my expression or my lack
Right.
of expression that it's almost annoying. They would say stuff about him, like, just, yeah, I want to come back. I want to be a ghost and just come back in the comments. But I'm not going to do that because I got to
Yeah.
realize people are people. I can't control how people will perceive you, and people don't
Mm,
hear everything. Um, so, yeah, grow a thick skin and just be authentic. Just be
yeah.
you.
But but on that consistency thing, the other part of it that a lot of times you don't think about, and we didn't realize this until very recently, is that part of how consistency can help you grow is that there are other influencers or content creators who are watching you.
Yeah.
Whether and not just that, but let's say you're looking in terms of sponsorships, things like that, brands, they're watching you too. And what I mean by that, they're looking for, are you consistent? So let's say there's someone in your industry or in your niche that does the same thing you do, and they may come across your stuff. So if they see something interesting, it's like, oh, maybe I want to collab with this person. Maybe I want to have them on my podcast. Maybe I want to try to see if I can get on their podcast. They're maybe going to go to your profile of whatever video they saw or content they saw and see, okay, what else are you doing? And if that clip is from maybe 6 months ago, but that was also the last thing you posted, then they're going to move on because, okay, you're not consistent. Maybe you're not doing this anymore. They're not going to guess around at why you haven't been posting in
Or
six
your
months.
content is so all over the place.
Yeah.
Like one day we're talking holy
hmm
Jesus, how God restored our marriage, and then the next one is how to twerk.
Yeah.
It's like it's such a contrast
Yep.
in content. So that person will be like, okay, well,
Yeah. So
I don't want
that's
to
the other side of
associate
consistency.
with
Yeah.
that person.
Not
That's
just not just frequency,
I
but
run into
consistency of
that. I'm like,
content.
oh, you got some good stuff. And I go to their page, like, okay,
Yeah.
all right. I thought you was one thing, but you're not.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, you got to. So that's important because we've gotten guested on a couple podcasts recently and all that, and it wasn't happening before. It's like, okay, well over time we grew, and so we
Yeah.
got a little more followers, and more people are exposed to us. But also just the consistency of what you're doing, people can see that, and they may have been looked at you 6 months ago, but over the course of 6 months you kept going, and they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, I should interact with this person. I should collab with this person.
Mm.
So that's the other part of your growth as well. Not just the
Yeah.
organic audience, but also some of the ability to integrate with other people.
No, that's some really good stuff right there. Some really good takeaways. All right, so another question I like to ask my guests, a little fun one, is what is your so it's two well actually it's a three-part question. So I'll start with the first one and we'll go to the next one. But the first question being, what is your camera of choice?
Yeah. It's called the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra.
That's dope.
That's
That's
our
dope.
camera of choice.
Yeah.
listen, if Samsung was sponsor us, I would love it. I'm just shout out to Samsung. I love Samsung. The cameras are great and fantastic, and I've been a Galaxy girl for I don't
Mm,
know since forever, and we love our phone. Yes, we're going to get a camera. We're going to invest into a camera. We're going to upgrade our
mm.
studio real soon. But so far,
Yeah.
this phone
And
has
unfortunately,
been
we're having to use our front-facing camera, but in most of our videos, we're using the
the
rear
back. Yeah,
camera.
Mm-hmm.
And, allowed us to start immediately doing 4K. We didn't have 4K at
Yeah.
one point, but now we have a 4K camera because on our phone. So it's perfect, being able to put 4K on
Yeah.
YouTube, which is where most of our content is. And then when we do our vertical content that we take clips from, because it's 4K, that's a lot better than if we're taking a slice of 1080p. It's better to take 4K.
Yeah.
So again, our phones come in handy there.
So
So
yeah,
that helps.
so I guess if you can afford a great camera, invest
Use
in a
your
great
phone.
phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Invest in a great
Kill
phone.
multiple birds with one stone because it's also good for your social media and posting and all that. So all in one.
Right. Yeah, no, that's the primary thing that you use for all your videos is your phone.
Yep.
Yeah.
hmm
So yeah, no, that's cool. Like, the reason why I like to ask that question is because I've talked to some other people about it, and I think sometimes people will feel like they have to get a certain type of camera when it's more about the perfect camera for what you're doing. So I love that. That's a great
Yeah,
use,
exactly.
and it's working perfectly for what you guys are doing. What editing
Yeah.
program or editing programs do you use for your videos?
Right now, I'm using DaVinci Resolve, which I like a lot. My background is with Final Cut Pro. I used Adobe Premiere for a little while, and then wasn't a fan. And I settled DaVinci Resolve. I settled DaVinci Resolve simply because it was free at the time, and
Yeah.
I could access it on any, whether it was PC or Mac. And but no, it's a great program. Like I don't have any reason to switch ever again that I would know of. So I'm pro DaVinci Resolve. I'm on that team. My time of editing has gone up and down, and how much I put into it and everything. And I probably say I'm at the lowest level of my skills probably right now, sharpness with editing. But DaVinci Resolve is good based on my background of what I've got, and being able to get content out quickly because that's what it is for me right now is game efficiency based on how busy my life is.
I'm gonna ask you what editing software I use.
But it's software you
I use InShot. Okay.
yeah,
I used to
InShot and
use
Canva.
InShot too.
Okay.
yeah.
No, not Canva.
Well, Canva is in there
Not
too.
Canva. What's the other one?
CapCut.
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 No, I didn't mention that. I have to say that's pretty much just as important as DaVinci Resolve to me right now. So I do that for my short form content that goes on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram. So just about
But
equally
get
that.
premium. If you're gonna use these apps, get the premium. please get the watermarks off your videos. Like, don't do that. I can't stand with do posts and I see the watermark.
Yeah.
Like, just do that. Just get this premium subscription. It's worth it.
Yep.
That's so funny. Yeah, no, I everyone on my channel knows I use DaVinci Resolve, and I also use CapCut as well. And I actually used to use InShot before I used CapCut. So before I found CapCut, I was on
InShot's
InShot.
gotten better though. I mean, it's not CapCut worthy level, but it has definitely evolved over the
Yeah.
years.
All right. Last question is this one. You guys kind of already have been talking about it, but this can also be personal if you want it to be. If you don't want it to be specifically about your career as your social media career, but what is your social media platform of choice?
So personally, I only like scrolling YouTube because if I'm scrolling YouTube, I might actually get something educational or inspirational, things like that. And it's actually curated better based on my wide variety of interests.
Yeah.
I don't like scrolling Instagram because half of it's not stuff in my feed. It's promotions of other accounts that I hadn't asked for. I hate the explore page. It's just like where your brain goes to die. Same thing with TikTok. TikTok, I'm liable to see something. It's really good at making sure I see funny stuff. But by the time I get down that rabbit hole, it's like, I don't need to be here. I've wasted so much time. YouTube's the only one where I feel like I'm not on social media. I'm actually curated with content that I enjoy. So.
Yeah, it's probably the safest, and I say that, you know, like you said, it does curate based off of what you actually are interested in.
Yeah.
I wish Instagram was my favorite because I actually do like Instagram.
It used to be my favorite.
But Instagram is wishy-washy. Like, it goes through a lot of changes all the time. It gets real glitchy a lot. It's like it don't know what it wants to be.
Yeah.
You know? They give you something and you like it and then they take it away from you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, what are you doing? So I don't know. I really want to love Instagram, but I guess if I had to choose one for life, I guess it had to be YouTube.
Yeah, no, I think I agree. I feel like I fall pretty much the same. Like Instagram's, YouTube is kind of my go-to. I just thought about this now, and I should have asked this sooner. But what do you guys think about posting for YouTube Shorts?
But I mean, so for me, I create all of my shorts outside of any of the social media platforms, and I upload them all pretty much, the exact same content simultaneously everywhere. So but from what I've seen of, say, Instagram versus YouTube, Instagram's better. YouTube just released that new short create app.
Yeah.
These are YT Create, something like that allows you to do some editing. And I haven't messed with it because I needed to, but I looked at it for a second and it looks a lot more clean, closer to Instagram and what CapCut's got going on. So knowing YouTube, it probably will end up being the best by the time they're done. They take their time, but when they do something, it ends up being better. So I'm sure it'll come out on top eventually. But right now, I don't think it's the best or most intuitive posting versus everybody else. Instagram, personally, I think has the best posting, in my opinion, for shorts, but or short form content. So YouTube probably is that toward the bottom for that for me.
Well, I really appreciate you guys being here. You dropped some really good knowledge. I feel like some really good takeaways that people can apply to their ministries that wanted to do social media. Before we head out, is there anything that you would say as a parting to anyone who is like, all right, I've been on the edge. I want to go ahead and jump into this thing. Is there any words that you would give them?
I'd say you got to get started. If you believe you have the call and you've heard from God and everything, be prayerful about how to do it. But at some point, you got to stop overthinking it and just do it. Thinking won't get you nowhere. At a certain point, you got to get started and make the mistakes, let it look sloppy and all that. Get started. I mean, that's all I can say. Get started and then be consistent once you get started. You got to jump out there. You just got to do it.
Yeah, don't be afraid. Just do it. Be you. Just stick to being you, because I believe that's the best thing you can sell, and that's yourself. So just be you.
Amen. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.